you.
Yeah, so hi, Tony. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Dan. Great to see you.
Great to see you too. So we're here with Tony from our partner in the UK, who would like to share with us some insights from an insider's perspective about the UK market. Tony, the floor is yours. I think we can start. You can talk a bit about your own firm over there, and then we can move on from there.
Okay.
Here's some interesting stuff. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm Tony Agwell, a founder of Kinetic Cubed. We're a boutique consulting company specializing in trade and investment services. Primarily, we help small, medium-sized businesses, but sometimes large businesses as well, through business support agencies. Typically, that would be government agencies. And we work with clients from North America, from Europe, from Asia, helping them to understand the UK and Irish markets. We're a small team of 6 people full-time, supported by a network of sector specialists, and we're delighted to be the IBG partner for the UK. With that said, let me present the story of the UK, which has been in the news a great deal in the last 5 years. So where does the story, the big story start? It starts 5 years ago in 2016, when we held a referendum on whether the UK should remain in the European Union.
Tony, so sorry to interrupt you. Can you move to a full screen so our audience and followers can maybe see?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Okay. I can. 1 second.
I think it's up on the above the. Yeah. Thank you.
Do we need to rewind?
No. I'll cut this part. I'll
Okay.
just
Okay. So, well, the story starts 5 years ago in 2016, when the UK held a referendum. After many years of public debate whether or not we should be in the European Union, a referendum was held in 2016. The guy on my left, in blue there, David Cameron, was Prime Minister. He just won an election, was feeling very, very confident about himself, and wanted to close this matter once and for all, believing he would win that referendum to stay in the European Union. Little did he expect some opposition from his wannabe rival, Boris Johnson, on my right. And at the time, it looked like we would just remain, just about vote to stay in the European Union. So you can see the average opinion polls, 51% remain, 49% leave. That was in April 2016. Well, the results turned out to be a tad different. So in June 2016, the referendum was held, and as you can see, the UK voted to leave the European Union. We didn't know what we were going to do, but it was a straightforward, do you want to stay or leave the European Union question? And as you can see from this map of the UK, most of the UK voted to leave the European Union. The overall vote was about, it was 52%, but you can see the variances. But what is particularly striking about this is London, 60% wanted to remain, Scotland, 62%, and more tellingly perhaps, Northern Ireland, 56% wanted to stay in the European Union. Within the English map there and Wales map, you'd actually see lots of pockets of the cities, Manchester, Liverpool, Cardiff, Leeds, etc., Birmingham. By and large, they voted to remain. So Cameron steps down, and Mrs. May, you may remember her, temporarily she became Prime Minister in July 2016. Held an election in 2017, although there was no real need to do so, and found herself losing a parliamentary majority. And then that led to a torrid 3 years of leadership. Mrs. May effectively was trying to find a happy medium between leaving the European Union formally, but still maintaining close links. However, that proved to be very impossible, as the country is so bitterly torn. And eventually Mrs. May was forced to resign in summer 2019 to be replaced by Boris Johnson, who then calls a election in December 2019. So what happened to that election? Well, as you can see, the Conservatives won a massive majority at the expense of Labour, which is quite astonishing after 10 years of being in power. And as you can see from party gains and losses, what we're really seeing here are the nationalists gain. The Conservatives by this time have morphed from being the Conservative Party to becoming the English National Party in the view of many. So you can see a big gains for the nationalists in England, likewise in Scotland, and even in Northern Ireland, where the Democratic Unionists, the party which believes in being part of the United Kingdom, lost 2 seats to the Republicans, who wanted to rejoin Ireland ultimately. So, is Boris a genius or a charlatan? Well, Boris is a very famous man, and this is a question which I'm sure will be debated for many more years to come. It's not my job to discuss that topic today. So, things are going okay after the election, clear majority, and then in March 2020, 12 months ago, Corona arrives on these great shores of the United Kingdom, and there's a message here: stay home, protect the NHS, save lives. We entered lockdown on March 23rd. That, some people, the scientists argue, was a bit too late, and had we locked down just a week earlier, it would have had a dramatic impact. Things are getting serious after that. In April, the Prime Minister himself, Boris, is taken into hospital, put into intensive care.
I think, Tony, he was one of the first world leaders that got COVID, no? If not
he was, and we didn't know it at the time, Dan, but he was actually in great danger of losing his life.
Right.
It was absolutely very serious. It's about the same sort of time, well, actually just a little later in May, when Boris does begin to reappear. He announces in his typical upbeat way that we're going to have the world-beating track and trace system, which thus far has cost £22 billion, plus another 15 billion anticipated, which has been described as an abject failure. It has tracked nobody. It is very different to the system that we've seen in other countries like South Korea. But nonetheless, we are going through this process of lockdown, of the economy being challenged, the hospitality, travel industry, all those industries which rely upon people coming together are dramatically impacted. So retail, leisure, etc. And so it's a very, very tough time, and the government, which perhaps is rather surprising, started to be very generous by giving money using the furlough payment scheme. So those who can't work are given basically up to £2,500 of their salary paid for by governments. So people are still surviving, okay? However, what is going on in the background is the UK is being dramatically hit by COVID. You can see here in terms of deaths per 100,000, the UK is number 4 here. This is as of March 21. We have 183 deaths per 100,000 inhabitants. We are the worst performer, depending upon your point of view, in terms of death rates amongst the G7 countries. So a really, really tough time here with many, many deaths.
Yeah, these numbers are recent. I see it's from March 1st, right?
They are.
Wow.
And as it stands, we have 126,000 deaths, which is quite sizable. So I think we're number 4 in the world, but the numbers are hard to compare in reality.
Right.
So COVID is having a huge impact. However, what the government does do is it took a gamble with track and trace, which didn't work in all honesty. However, it also took a chance on the vaccines, which did work. So it was very quick to support and approve the vaccines. And you can see here that it was very much involved in supporting the Oxford University and AstraZeneca vaccine. And thus far, as we speak today, towards the end of March, more than half of the UK population have been vaccinated, the adult population. So you can see where we are here. I know Israel has done better than us, but we are a bigger country in the UK. Right. So we've done very, very well. That's 32% on March 5th. On March 25th, we're now at over 50%.
And are you vaccinating with all three vaccines?
We're using two vaccines in reality, the Pfizer vaccine and the AstraZeneca vaccine. So it's been very good, but the challenge, I think, for us, and indeed most of the countries, will be there will be that hard to vaccine group, either those who are hard to get access to, or those who are simply reluctant to be vaccinated. But as a population, we will largely be vaccinated by August 2021.
And do you see the numbers already changing, or not yet?
We see the numbers of deaths dramatically falling, and the number of people getting COVID dramatically falling.
Here in Israel, it's the same. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. However, we have one problem in that we can't essentially open the doors, because we could re-import the new variants, which ironically we've exported. So one of our exports has been the UK variants.
So right now the UK is closed, or how does it work?
The UK is it is closed as of Monday, the 29th of March 2021, in effect. So people cannot go on holiday. But it wasn't closed for that same reason for the previous 12 months.
So here in Israel, as long as you have, they call it the green certificate, that you were either vaccinated or recovering from COVID, you can travel. People are going abroad, they're coming back, going to ski.
Very nice.
I'm not sure they can go wherever they want, wherever they want, but we're starting to go back to normal, which is amazing, considering the period of time since COVID started and the time we're actually vaccinated.
We are expected to start. We will start to ease. We have not done so. We're starting to ease lockdown from April.
Amazing.
But we probably still won't be out of this for some time. We've been told by the chief medical officer that we can expect the effects of COVID to last for many years, and social distancing and mask wearing to be around for quite some time to come.
So it's interesting, because here in Israel, they are debating if we should keep the masks on while we're outside, and the majority of the experts are saying that we can take them off. I think the major benchmark will be when we can vaccinate the children.
We're expecting to vaccinate children in August.
Right. So I think here as well, we are vaccinating the population from 16 and above. And right now, the most of the cases are in the schools and kindergarten.
Right.
The rest of the population, even if they are they got the COVID, they will have it really with minor side effects, and they can keep on with their lives. So I think this will be the major difference once we can vaccinate the younger population.
I think it's an interesting situation, the picture that's emerging. The problem we're facing is many of the countries we would travel to in Europe, for example, they are massively behind on vaccination. And therefore, we may find ourselves being in an island situation. And for that reason, I really don't expect us to see international travel, particularly business travel, becoming easy or really possible in any meaningful way this year. Okay.
We were supposed to meet on last March in Korea, but the timing was really bad regarding COVID.
It'll come again, I promise you.
I'm sure, yeah.
So in the meantime, what's happening in 2020? 2020 is meant to be an important year because the clock is ticking down on Brexit. We have a very hard deadline to leave on the 31st of December 2020. The European Union did offer us the option to extend that, but the government chose absolutely not to do so. However, that was before COVID hit, but the government decided that they would stick to that rigid timetable. So this in itself would be a big enough challenge, but if you overlay that with COVID as well, then this becomes an absolute impossible situation to address. So what happens in the end? How does this story end? Well, if by magic on the 24th of December at 4 or 5 p.m. on Christmas Eve, a trade deal was struck. Why, you may ask yourself, was it less so late? Well, perhaps because scrutiny was minimized. We had 1 week left. If we didn't strike a free trade agreement with the European Union, our businesses would be absolutely damaged greatly because they just didn't know. And in fact, even just having that 1 week wasn't enough. They needed much longer. So what are the implications of this? From my own observations going to Europe, I know that our European friends were actually better prepared than the British businesses who we help, because they didn't know what was happening. Where will this go? So in the end, it's the whole thing has hinged on a few things. You'll see the images here. Fish at the bottom, fish and more fish. It's all to do with fish, which accounts for less than 0.01% of GDP. And a large part of the EU vote was about emotions and protecting our fishing industry, etc. was a big part of that. And ironically, since the vote, since we left the European Union, British exports of fish to the European Union, and this was largely, this whole thing was in large measure to save our fishermen. Fish exporters are unable to export their fish to the European Union, which is rather ironic given that that was such a major stumbling block. The issue of Northern Ireland, we have in effect a trade border down the Irish Sea between the mainland and the the island of Ireland. So Northern Ireland, which is part of the United Kingdom, is almost separated. So goods going from the United Kingdom into Northern Ireland have to be checked, because once they're in Northern Ireland, they have free movement to Ireland, and hence there's got to be a border somewhere, either between Northern Ireland and Ireland or between the mainland of the UK and the island of Ireland. Freight, I'm going to talk about freight volumes in a minute, the paperwork, the documentation issues, and of course our friend Michel Barnier here, who has been the one consistent in this. We see many secretaries of state for Brexit come and go, but Barnier has been there all the way through. So what has happened? What is the real impact of this from the 1st of January? These are early results. It would suggest that trade is very much down. So all goods leaving the UK to go to the European Union have to complete the formalities. That involves a fair degree of documentation. However, trucks coming in with goods from the European Union have been given a waiver so that they can effectively avoid that documentation for some time, which is why the supermarket shelves are not so empty as of yet. But goods going into the European Union have to comply. So you can see here that there's quite a lot of empty lorries right now. You can see the increase in the number of lorries that are empty over that 12-month period. Okay, But let's actually have a look at the trade stats themselves. Our exports to the European Union are down by 41%. Okay, our imports are down by 29%, and that may be due to the fact that we had overstocked. Ironically, that's overstocking because of Brexit over the previous 18 months or so, actually perhaps saved us with COVID. Because there was lots of surplus stock in the UK, it gave us that buffer. Okay, if we look at trade with non-EU countries, compare that to non-EU, with our trade, we've actually exported a bit more to the non-EU countries, in contrast to the European Union. So exports up a bit to non-EU, but massively down to the EU, and imports are down from non-EU, but not the same volume as they are with the EU. But so I think that's down to the stocking with overstocking beforehand. So where is the UK today in Q1 2021? Are we more nimble? Are we setting the agenda? So one of the differences between our populist governments and populist governments elsewhere is that on the one hand, we have some xenophobia. On the other hand, we are embracing or trying to show a more positive attitude towards progressive issues like the climate threat. So the UK is hosting the COP conference in November. And the other thing is, I put here a newspaper, the Daily Express, which is a populist newspaper, Brexit supporting paper, with the Union Jackal notice, which is actually promoting the green agenda, which is quite astonishing given that that part of the UK population has been resistant to some of these trends. So if I just to show you just how far the UK is going, and this isn't necessarily down to governments, is that the UK is the #1 leader in the world for installed offshore wind capacity, that green bar in the, okay?
Yeah, that's really amazing. The change it's amazing the growth since 2009.
Absolutely, and it's still growing, and of course Europe and North America are looking to follow suit. So we have a great industry here, and that's largely down to being an island. We have those sorts of offshore capabilities.
Right.
Another example where we're leading or aiming to lead is on electric vehicles. So lots of incentives there for the car manufacturers, for battery manufacture, and so we're going to see lots of innovation to increase the charging infrastructure. So lampposts, for example, new homes having no longer using fossil fuels for heating. It'll become banned from 2030. So we're going to see this rapid transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy in the next 10 years. Okay. So we are changing, and you saw also with the vaccine, the rapid adoption and acceptance of the approvals. Okay, what does the future look like? Well, politically, we have a levelling up agenda, which is from Boris. It's about helping the left behind areas who largely voted for him, given a big majority, who traditionally voted for the opposition. So this is predominantly working class areas who need to see their economies improved, and Boris trying to do something about that. Let us see. At the same time, the United Kingdom Union is under great threat. We've seen the rise of the Scottish National Party in Scotland. They've been in charge for 14 years and show no signs of disappearing. They're very popular still, despite some scandals. And if they win the elections in 6 weeks' time, they will be pushing for another referendum. And I think it's only a matter of time before Scotland leaves. It'll happen in the next decade, in my view. And interestingly, the Northern Irish dynamic is also changing. Demographic changes for a start, and Brexit being another, could possibly lead to a reunification of Ireland. And bearing in mind, next year, 2022, is a centenary of Ireland becoming an independent country. So there are strains within the United Kingdom. Going back to the Levelling Up agenda, you've got a big push on manufacturing. Margaret Thatcher felt that the market should be let loose to do what it wanted, but now we're seeing a much more interventionist policy from the same party of Margaret Thatcher, which is supporting the manufacturing renaissance with the using Industry 4.0. We're seeing the ability to be self-dependent becoming far more important, and that's in large measure driven by COVID, but it's also driven by Brexit. Okay, I've already talked about net zero emissions, and that is part of the renaissance. You know, we need to make things for the future, and this gives us something to do. And it's also, more importantly, an area which China cannot readily address. In terms of where are we going in terms of trade partnerships, whilst we have the free trade agreement with the European Union, it is actually just for goods, and it is absolutely a shadow of what we had. Okay, so we're very much looking at new trade deals, but in truth, we're focused very much on the Anglo Club of the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. So if you like, we're going back to where we were 30, 40 years ago. And that is, it is a fascinating place to be in the UK. It is changing dramatically in many ways. The demographics are changing. You can see the multiculturalism changing as well in our government. Half of it is non-white. The country, like the world, is changing very quickly and presents interesting opportunities. So happy to.
So maybe Tony, we talked a lot about. You told the story of the past 5 years. So maybe you can share with us and with our audience where is it going now? Maybe for the next 5 years, and maybe you can emphasize on the most attractive sectors.
Okay.
Although I think you talked about it during the last few slides, I think, but maybe you can share with us which are the most interesting sectors to keep watching and following.
I think very much clean tech,
right.
Manufacturing. I think we're going to see a renaissance in house building as well, construction, but it'll be green buildings.
Right.
I think the digital revolution is being embraced. We have a high level of broadband connectivity, although it's still weak in many places, but I think that will change very quickly. I think the opportunities for foreign companies listening to this will be, if they have interesting technologies and are looking to pilot those technologies, I think that they would find a welcome in the UK. There are many areas, many clusters, many soft landing zones, and also government support programs which would support that. So the UK is very much trying to become this sort of free and nimble, dynamic economy where regulations are much lighter. So I think that those sorts of sectors in general, but I'd say,
does the UK leaving the EU opens up specific new opportunities for foreign businesses, in your opinion?
Well, the one opportunity that does arise immediately, strange as it may seem, is we're seeing a lot of opportunity for European locations to attract UK companies which need to set up in the European Union, which they didn't need to before,
right,
to overcome some of the bureaucracy and costs of servicing their customers. Because the documentation also comes with a cost.
Right.
Time and money as well, okay?
Always. Yeah.
So, but conversely, we're seeing that European companies who want to continue to be in the UK are having to do the same. So in reality, we're seeing more costs being added in the name of Brexit, basically. So that's the UK and Europe. In terms of UK and non-Europe, the UK is very much keen to, as I say, do more things with North America. In terms of Asia, I think in reality, we're talking about the ASEAN, Japan, South Korea, and India. I think that there is a degree of concern about China. So we are seeing more opportunities for entrepreneurs from countries to come into the UK. So essentially, anybody who can add value to the UK, it's almost a war for talent. If you know, we are very much open to those who've got something to offer, provided they're either highly educated entrepreneurs or bring with them money.
And Tony, can you share with us if you have some examples of recent projects to connect the UK to foreign businesses?
Yes, so we've been working on helping North American companies that currently are helping them to connect to the UK, particularly in clean tech, not because our North American friends are necessarily ahead, some are, but more to learn from the UK, because going back to the offshore wind example, we have a lot of know-how, and some of our companies are able to partner with North Americans or to set up in North America. So that's just one example. And as I say, we have lots of examples of European organizations looking to set up in the UK to service the UK post-Brexit.
Great. So Tony, before we're done, do you want to share with us how our audience can connect with you and to find out about more opportunities and see how you can help them develop in the UK?
Yeah, absolutely. Delighted to. First of all, contact me. We will add my email address here in a moment. And in terms of how we can help them, we can help them to better understand the UK. Remember, the UK is not London. Big mistake people make thinking London, London, London. There's much more to the UK than London, okay? Many of the industries that they're looking for will be spread across the UK in different pockets. Understanding the British culture is different, and it's different within the United Kingdom as well. It's not all the same. And understanding how to navigate the support mechanisms, finding the right sorts of partners, and if you're selling to the UK, understanding how to best present yourself. Just because you're from, let's say, the United States, doesn't necessarily give you an easy sell. It's what you're selling, how you're selling, the benefits of that. So we can absolutely help advise such clients to look at the UK. The UK is still going to remain a major market, regardless of the ups and downs, okay? It's in the top 5 economies. That is not going to change regardless of some of these issues I've raised today. It is a must participate in markets. So if you want to be global, you cannot ignore the UK. But please do get in touch, and I will add my
email also your website and your contact details.
Yes, indeed.
On the screen, and I want to thank you. It was very insightful.
Thank you.
I want to invite our audience to follow our LinkedIn page of IBG Global for more information and quality content and more insights. Thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you, Dan.
I hope to see you soon in person.
I hope so, Dan. I hope so. Thank you. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.